Okay, so got everything pulled up. Thanks for joining us. Kind of like an ad hoc questions and answer time. We're gonna keep this limited to about an hour, so should be ending roughly by 7:30. Today is my 14th anniversary to my lovely wife, Amy. Uh, I'm gonna be cooking her a nice barbecue dinner here in a bit, so got to get this part done so I can get back to my real job. Let me see. Here we go. So, one of the things I wanted to go over with you guys is that there's a lot of intel going on right now. I haven't been talking about because there's just so much in the atmosphere. Let's go over some of the stuff from Forward Observer. So, if you don't know who Forward Observer is, they are a former military intelligence guys, all different kinds of various backgrounds, and they're not part of the government. They're their own entity. They're a private corporation by private patriotic Americans, God-fearing men, and they put together some of the most comprehensive, best intelligence packages that a civilian could probably get their hands on. For about $10 a month, you can subscribe to the Forward Observer. You can get the situation reports that are coming out almost every day. They tell you about what's going on inside the beltway of Washington, D.C., the global sit reps, and then domestic sit reps. It is some spot on stuff for those of you who are in military, for those of you who are into security, those of you who are cops or preppers, or you just want to be better well informed. Forward Observer is who you need to be paying attention to. $10 a month. I'm not affiliated with them. I love their work. I don't get paid to say that. This is just what we do. All right. So, for about a week to today, we're going to play catch up. Austin, Texas based activists run Signal Telegram alert channels. So, Signal and Telegram are those web services, those applications that are supposed to be secure, but they're not. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you that. FBI is in every single one of them. An anarchist collective based in Austin, Texas, runs a Signal and Telegram channel to publish real time alert calls for action that means domestic violence and protest related announcements for the pro Palestinian encampment at the University of Texas. An organizer published a guide to starting other Signal Telegram announcement channels for other areas of the country. It includes basic operation security, OPSEC. OPSEC measures is where you don't talk about Fight Club, right? You don't talk about the stuff that you see, that you write down, that you know, that you're the intel that you're passing. So the communists use military tactics and counterintelligence tactics to hide and disguise the things that they're doing. They're pretty clever at what they do. I will give them that. So if they're preparing for stuff, what do you think you should be preparing for? Let's continue. And so OPSEC measures and best practices for organizers to draw submissions from area activists. Every single area, from your town to your city, your state, has a hierarchy of people that are left-wing radical activists, like the Obamas, right? They're community organizers. Yeah. So this is why it matters. The guide specifically states that organizing direct action demonstrations, which could include violent behavior, may run afoul of Texas laws. So the Signal and Telegram application channel is a workaround to publish calls to action without directly engaging and organizing for those events. These types of channels already exist in numerous United States cities, but many of them have gone dormant since the waning days of 2020 and 2021. Everybody remember 2020 was rocking. 2021, for a few months, it was pretty dangerous. And then, it all just kind of settled down, and Antifa and the violence went away because they won. Well, it's coming back. A resurgence in this type of online information sharing would be indicative of a growing protest movement. and these channels will likely proliferate heading into the election season. Many of these channels are easily accessed through a Telegram search if you know the name of the information sharing channel. If interested, you can start by conducting a global search on Telegram with your city's name. All right, the 29th of June, the Poor People's March in Washington, D.C. A host of organizations and the Presbyterian Church of the United States and other unions and groups are organizing a Poor People's March for the poor and low wealth people. The march is scheduled for 29th of June in Washington, D.C. Every time I see stuff like this that's being published in the future, especially by these people, it bothers me. I'll tell you why it bothers me. Because if some funky shenanigans was going to happen, if there was going to be any type of premeditated attack, terror attack, domestic attack, active shooter, stuff where you have people that are, using vehicle-borne weapons, driving, administration does not care about these people, and these people are cannon fodder, and this type of administration cannibalizes its own followers, and they would willfully sacrifice them to get their next agenda. When their next agenda, we're gonna discuss here soon, is the guns. All right. Organizers expect a gathering of tens of thousands. Organizers also want to reach 15 million people with the Poor People's Campaign message and register them to vote. Most of this is also um, geared towards illegals. So, yeah, that's going to suck. This is why it matters. The march itself is unremarkable. What's remarkable is the coalition of organizations throwing their people in weight behind the march of the Poor People's Campaign, which is a social justice organization that has previously held events alongside the Party for Socialist and Liberation, Black resistance groups, and other socialist communist organizations. This appears to be a typical election year event like the last one they held in 2020. All right. Now, I'll repeat, there's a church that's going to be there. The Presbyterian Church of the USA. They plan on being there at this primarily socialist, communist driven event. Oh, church. Oh, church, you have fallen away. All right. Next, the debate over AOC endorsement. The Democratic Socialists of America political party is airing an open debate on whether or not to endorse Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for another congressional election. One side of the debate says that despite claims that AOC is a Democratic socialist, she's beholden to the Democratic Party and not the DSA. The other side that says that AOC is the most well-known Democratic socialist in Congress alongside Bernie Sanders, and that without holding a national party endorsement would be a serious mistake. I have said for a while, just me watching politics, that I fully expect a socialist, communist, independent party to come out of whatever's about to happen next. Like, I fully believe it's going to happen. So be looking out for that. This happened on the 8th, but June surround the White House. Various progressive socialists and pro-Palestinian activist organizations are planning a Surround the White House march for Saturday, June 8th. This has already happened, and nothing happened. All right. Anarchist Radio Club discusses ham radio. Gentlemen, pay attention. In a recent blog post, a radical anarchist ham radio club discussed the difficulties of using Chirp software to program an ICOM all-band radio. It's why it matters. Ham radio is of burgeoning interest to radical and revolutionary anarchist groups. I've seen the use of Baofeng handheld radios at far left demonstrations going back to 2016. This is true, so have I. And in fact, one thing that used to be really fun is when we would detain and arrest these guys and we would have their radios, we would sit there and listen in for the rest of the protests and listen to these idiots try and talk back and forth. And occasionally you can spot out who the military veteran is that's in these anarchist, communist, anti government groups. All right. But the use has been sporadic. During one event in Austin, Texas, for instance, I saw multiple Baofangs attached to gear, but never saw anyone using them, which may indicate an alternate or emergency use as part of a comms PACE plan. PACE means primary, alternative, contingency, and emergency. This particular anarchist ham radio club doesn't appear, doesn't appear large or particularly active. However, with growing interest, understanding, and availability of Baofeng and other ham radios, an uptick in direct action, which is domestic violence demonstrations, this summer or fall could include increased use of ham radios. Communications in the clear, unencrypted voice transmission, for instance, would be considered a communication security violation for typically security conscious Antifa affinity groups. If ham radio does become more popular among far left groups, it's more likely to be used for regional communications, while cell phone based operations and apps like Signal, Telegram, and others remain used for tactical level communications and information sharing. These guys, these communists, and look, we don't take them seriously because these are like a bunch of the silly larper uh goth kids that everyone made fun of. These guys, no matter how much we want to make fun of them, they're getting a lot of experience. They're getting very good at what they're doing. They have created quite the command and control, a lot of training from outside organizations. Some of the guys that we had detained, arrested in Portland, they'd gone to Syria, they'd gone to Iraq, they had immersed themselves with ISIS and were training with ISIS. Some of the other ones that we detained or arrested, we know that they were traveling to Tijuana and they were immersing themselves with Mexican cartels. And what do you think they're learning? How to spray paint the ARKist A better, how to color the rainbow hair better. No, man, these guys are learning actual military tactics. They're learning terrorism tactics, torture tactics, uh, anything with communication, anything that has to do with intelligence gathering or counterintelligence. These guys are learning. And yet, people just nod and shake their head and say everything's going to be okay here in America. All right. All right, next. The Biden administration has granted a backdoor amnesty for up to 350,000 illegals. One of them, which I thought was very interesting, came from Chuck Schumer. And he said that we want to get up to 11 million migrants to become citizens. I think that would sway a vote if voting even matters anymore. So, former immigration judge Andrew Arthur said that the Biden administration quietly closing 350,000 asylum cases, citing lack of criminal backgrounds or national security threats since 2022. It's just a massive amnesty under the guise of prosecutorial discretion. Immigration and Custom Enforcement officers said that there's been an increase in illegal immigration committing crimes or illegal immigrants committing crimes after their asylum cases are closed. Still, removal proceedings after the asylum cases are dismissed sometimes could take years for them to be dismissed. According to an immigration lawyer, illegal immigrants can reapply for asylum or forms of legal status after their cases are dismissed without the authorities being able to deport them. I wonder where all those people are going to go. And most of them are coming from Cuba, Venezuela, Mexico, and many other states, nations, around the world that are not friendly to the United States. And nor do they have the want to have the American dream. Now, at this rate, I'm almost willing to say that maybe 2 out of 100 actually want to be here, and that might be way too low. It may be 2 out of 1,000 because the rest are being told to come here. They're being given this unique opportunity to leave the whole their families and everything behind to come here to the United States to just sit and wait and do nothing. Yeah, I don't think so. Texas GOP plans state electoral college push. The Texas Republican Party ratified a new party platform that includes Proposal 21, a state constitutional amendment that would require the winner of any statewide office to win a majority of 254 Texas counties. The Texas GOP also voted on a policy proposal maintaining Texas' right to secede from the United States. We do this every year, and we're never going to do it. So, whatever. Our politicians are just about useless at this point in time. Utilities delay coal power closures due to soaring demand. Utility operators, including Alliant Energy, are pushing coal power plant retirements due to concerns about grid reliability and increasing power demand from the data centers. You can't replace the fossil plants fast enough to meet the demand. In order to be a first mover on artificial intelligence, we're going to need to embrace maintaining what we have, says Alliance Resource Partners CEO Joe Kraft. Why does it matter? Soaring demand from artificial intelligent data centers and electrification, combined with the push to decrease coal and liquid natural gas power generation, is very likely to cause power shortages and skyrocketing energy costs beginning next year. Coal still accounts for a significant portion of reliable dispatchable generation capacity. Multiple state and federal lawmakers, utility operators, and even BlackRock CEO Larry Fink have warned that blackouts and brownouts are coming due to increasing demand of intermittent sources like wind and solar, which cannot replace dispatchable fossil fuel. All right, so Scheinbaum, the new president of Mexico, the leftist Morena Party candidate, Claudia Scheinbaum, won Mexico's presidential election with about 60% of the vote, which is really, I don't know if 60% of the vote is what actually happened, but 37 other people who were running for president of Mexico were assassinated by cartel. So, did she really win the vote or was she installed? Let's go ahead and say it. She was installed. She's a hardcore socialist. She's a communist. She's a feminist. She's anti human. She is anti liberties. And she is a friend to the cartel. She's a friend of the cartel. She's a friend to China. She's a friend to Russia. She's a friend to any of these corrupt politicians that we have sitting over here in Washington, D.C., and not a friend to the Mexican people. So it's really sad to see that. Mexico, you're under judgment. All right. What's the latest now coming from our friends over at Ford Observer? All right. Inside the Beltway from Washington, D.C., federal monitor investigating UAW President Fain. Federal court appointed monitor Neil Barofsky said that he is investigating allegations that United Auto Workers Union President Shawn Fain retaliated against union official over allegations that Fain engaged in acts of financial misconduct to benefit others. Now, according to this guy out in the federal courts, the United Auto Workers Union officials stopped cooperating with the federal monitor and began obstructing the investigation. This is why it matters. The United Auto Workers has successfully expanded to some car manufacturers in the southern U.S., and Fain has become a major public figure for this organization. If the allegations from the union officials that Fain has been involved in financial corporation, if that's true, this would likely hinder further UAW expansion. Now, the United Auto Workers, and just like many of these other unions, these are pro democratic things that are going on right now. America, not just with the elections, not just with pro patriot versus pro communist, all the way down to the very basic fragments of our society within even our industry is starting to untether, and you need to think about that. It's all starting to untether. Nevada electronic voting expansion is at a high risk. Brennan Center for Justice election expert Larry Norton said that Nevada's plan to expand fully electronic voting with no paper ballots to tribal lands in the state is concerning due to security risk and public confidence. The FBI, who's so trustable, and other federal agencies told state election officials ahead of the 2020 election that returning ballots through electronic means was a high risk activity. This is why it matters. This is very likely a move made by Nevada's state Democrats to expand the Democratic election advantage in the battleground states ahead of the November election. According to aggregate polling, Trump is currently 5 points ahead of Biden in Nevada. And exit polling from 2022 midterm election shows that Native Americans voted for Democrats by 56 more percent. Americans' faith in the U.S. Electoral College and the U.S. electoral system is failing. And a move to expand fully electronic voting is likely to undermine confidence in Nevada's election. We'll probably see this same thing expanded across the United States. ICE, which is Immigration Customs Enforcement, is going to close a major Texas detention facility. I wonder if I've worked at this one. According to an Immigration and Customs Enforcement memo, ICE is planning to close down the South Texas Family Residential Center in Dilley, Texas. No, but I know guys who have worked there. Why are they shutting down some of these centers? Because they're not needed no more. They're not needed no more because there's not going to be a parole like institute anymore, and asylum seekers and people who are here illegally are just being let loose into the country. Yay. Prepare for the next terrorist attack. FDA reported drug recalls are trending upward. According to the United States Food and Drug Administration, data drug recalls have increased significantly over the last 6 years. U.S. drug makers that outsource production to foreign manufacturers are legally responsible for approving or rejecting medicines made in overseas facilities. Overseas drug makers are responsible for quality control of store brand generic drugs since the FDA considers pharmacy retailers as private label distributors and not drug manufacturers. I if I were you, if I were you and you were me and we were each other, I would be looking at trying to buy any of my stuff here from America and see if it's at least sourced here in America. We have an affiliate now that's with us that um, sells all different types of supplements and whatnot. And I got to find who the freaking heck it is. This is how much I suck at my own job. I don't even care about the people who are my affiliates sometimes. Um, we have different affiliates, right? And what we try to do when we get different people who want to, you know, make a connection with us and join in with us is that we want to make sure that they're patriotic, God-fearing, to the best of our knowledge, sourced here from America. I'll make sure I find that information. I give it to you. All right. Revolutionary Communist International is kicking off. Marxist and Trotskyist communists kicked off the Revolutionary Communist International Conference this week with the goal of building a new international effort to promote communism similar to the original Communist International launched by Vladimir Lenin in 1919. If you have, like I have, been around these people, the majority of the communists are women and white. And the men that are there can commonly be confused as women, but majority of them are also white. But then there's two other parallel groups here. It's not really talked about much, but you have the Black Communist Movement, and then you have La Raza, which is a Mexican communist movement. So those three movements, and then I'm not even talking about Russia, I'm not talking about China, I'm not talking about anybody else, but just those three movements alone. They all have coffers here in the United States. They've all got a money chest somewhere that's being filled by our politicians who get influenced to fill it by people like China. So, you know, I go back to what Obama said, that one day he wants a civilian army or a security force or something like that that's just as big, just as strong, and just as well funded. Never said well trained, but just as well funded as the United States military. If the majority of the people who are coming to America that are these males of fighting age are coming from primarily communist countries, are they still coming over here with those same mindsets of being a communist? Or are they just going to come here and follow orders because they get to pick where they want to live after everyone, takes over? It's going to be very interesting. This is definitely something that we should be paying attention to. All right, so I've got some other things that I'd like to go over with here in a little bit, but let's open it up for some questions. See if you guys got any questions. Maybe I can answer real quick for you. So if you got any questions, please repost them. Maddie, you got a question. Go ahead and ask it. How can I train my poodle to protect me and Dwight during a nuclear scenario? All right. So for the whole nuclear scenario thing, I'll talk about this real quick. For one thing, your poodle's probably going to die, or you guys are probably going to eat it when you run out of food. Nuclear winter is probably not going to be kind to us all. So buy more food and fatten the dog up, Maddie. That's what I would tell you. And in reality, when it comes to this whole thing about nuclear war, like how close are we to nuclear war? I think that we're so close to nuclear war that Russia put one of their nuclear warhead carrying submarines 70 miles off the coast of Florida, and no one knew it was there until it came up out of the water. No one knew it was there. How did it get there? It was a multi-purpose nuclear submarine called the Kazan. And it was 70 miles off the coast of Florida. How did it get past all of our stuff? This is a submarine that could carry cruise missiles, hypersonic missiles that are capable of carrying nuclear weapon payloads. So that means by the time a missile's launched, within 10 minutes, Washington, D.C. is a giant glowing orb of fire. I mean, it's what did well, what did they say that it was 1,000 times hotter than the sun when it's a thermonuclear blast? Yeah. So, and what's to stop Russia from attacking Washington D.C. if they knew that all the king's horses and all the king's men were in the White House and they want to try and destroy the Russian Federation? And we know now, thanks to Lindsey Graham, that they're after the resources that's in Ukraine. And once they get to Ukraine, they won't stop because there's even more resources in Russia than there is in Ukraine. We know it. This is what's going to happen. That's why they want to invade. What's to stop them from nuking the White House at this point? I don't know. Probably nothing. So, gas mask. I would recommend gas mask. Gas mask and duct tape. Let me see. What do I think is a likely scenario leading up to the election? Thank you, Tom Fittich. It appears that since last year, everything is on the table, but NATO is growing more bold with the incursion into Ukraine, the Black Sea, and elsewhere, and kind of doing like this encircling movement around Russia. And what it appears is that, I mean, a few more months of moving troops around, and Russia is going to have to do something militarily to thwart the movement of NATO. So, a few months from now could potentially put us in October. October makes sense. Be a nice October surprise. Today's June. So, um, when I look at war on our scale, and people don't fully understand this, and that's fine. War is driven off of economies. Our economy sucks, and we have kind of like two things going for us. Either one, it can be a coalition of forces and everybody attacks at once, or America will lead it like we always do, and we're going to pay for the brunt of it like we always have. But the money's not really there for us to pay to keep the economy going and to go into full scale war. So I don't know. Because once again, the thing that I worry about is if we go into full scale war, does our enemies touch us in the banking system by cutting the underwater transmission lines? I think it's $17 million passes every hour, or probably every minute, going from Europe to America. So from that to taking down the grid, and I know I talk about the grid so much, but it is truly the Achilles heel of America, and nobody is prepared for it. If we push the Russian bear enough, they could definitely make our lives very miserable without ever hitting us with a nuclear weapon. I think that's a reality. I think that's a possibility. Other than that, I can't really predict what's going on. I would expect that by July, August, September, the protests are really going to ramp up. Antifa's really going to ramp up. I'm shocked we haven't had more active shooters, and I'm shocked we haven't had any more terrorist attacks. And I hope it stays that way. I hope it all goes down. I don't want to see it, but I expect an uptick in it. That's what I expect. And I would also say this, in regards to a few other things that's going on in the House and bills that are being passed. There's a lot of bills that are being passed that want to disarm you of any type of gas-powered weapon. So anything semi-automatic, they want to get rid of. Large capacity magazines, large capacity ammunition, guns that weigh more than like 30 ounces or whatever. They want to get rid of body armor. They want to get rid of night vision, and they want to get rid of thermal. They want to get rid of sniper rifles. They want to get rid of flamethrowers. They want to get rid of anything that gives you a tactical advantage in a revolution. That's what they really want to do. So you could probably see more attacks on that kind of stuff too. Other than that, Tom, we're just going to have to sit here and keep watching what's happening. Don't worry, in 12 hours, something new will happen. All right, real question. What are the considerations of bugging out, leaving your home for good, and what if you don't have a secondary location? Okay, so let's talk about that. For one thing, a map is super cheap for you to get, and you can make one uh, easily at your house if you got a printer by using Google Maps. One of the things that you should be doing, I shall draw an example. So let's say all right, so let's say this is your house. These concentric rings are by 50 miles. So by 50 miles here, by 50 miles here, by 50 miles here, and you keep going so on and so forth until you reach what the limit of your gas tank is. So, and those concentric rings are going to keep growing and keep growing because I can only evade however far my gas tank can go without me having to refill it. So if I have to get in my vehicle and I don't have the opportunity to refill it, I need to know 50 miles, 100 miles, 150 miles, 200 miles, 250 miles, 300 miles, 350 miles, 400 miles, so on and so forth. And I would want to know what the highways are, what the interstates are. I would want to know where large water resources are. I would want to know where are the places I probably don't want to drive into, like the middle of a town. But if I need to get a resupply somewhere, where are the gas stations? So let's say I don't have a place to go, and I'm going to pick the national forest that's close to me. A lot of people are going to do that, by the way. Don't be shocked when you show up to the national forest and there's a million people there. You would want to know between where you live and the national forest, gas stations. I would want to know my route. I'd want to know gas stations. I would want to know where's a safe spot if I have to pull over. Where's a halfway point that I could potentially bunk down at. Like this is called pre-route planning. And then from there, that's kind of your own visual reconnaissance. And you can do that all through Google Maps. And with map overlaying, and you can easily do this, you can get map overlay sheets. You print out your area. All right. So you print out a picture of your area, and then you print out a picture, or let's say your area from point A to point B of where I want to go. And then your first overlay is a plastic sheet. You take a marker and use different color markers, and you draw out and trace the highway. You trace the interstate. All right. And then on lay down another overlay, and I would be circling where are the gas stations? Where's my refueling station? So that's really the thing I need to worry about the most is if need be, where can I get food, water, where can I get gas, oil? If it's a quick place I can run in and throw something at a dude and say, here, have this and come back into my vehicle with equipment or with resources. I'd want to know those places. Um, I'd want to know my halfway return point too if the road looks too bad and I need to return. I would want to know alternate routes as well. If you can't take the interstate, which is probably going to be a mess. If you can't take the highway, which is probably going to be a mess, then I would want to know the county roads to get around certain things. All right. A GPS, as long as we don't get hit with an EMP, a small GPS would also be very, very good for you, like a Garmin. If you don't have any place to bug out to, you may have to bug in. And if you bug in, you got to think about a few things. What's my security? What's my fuel resources look like? What's my power resources look like? How much water do I have on hand? How much food do I have on hand? Do I know my neighbors? Can we throw down together on something? And if not, and you don't know anybody, then you better be considering no one's coming to rescue me. I got to do this on my own. I should have probably started prepping yesterday. Maddie, I hope that answers your question. Um, all right. So she also says, at what point in time do you stop taking people in, and at what point do you say no? No more. It's just me and my family. I'm gonna tell you, let the Holy Spirit guide you on that one. But if you take in somebody and you get that feeling, right? This is why you got to be so close to God. If you get that feeling that, like, this is not good, I don't like this dude or I don't like this lady, I would probably go with that feeling, the Holy Spirit, right? The gut feeling. I'd probably go with that. Um, there's plenty of different times in the Bible where people should have starved to death, and through their faith, God replenished them, God restored them, and God provided for them. As Christians, how close are you on your faith to knowing that the Lord will provide? Outside of that, it kind of goes down to almost common sense, right? I can't take on 1,000 people here, but if it's the Lord's will, then it'll get done. Um, but understand that if you start taking on a lot of people, you're going to have a lot of good people and you're going to have some bad ones that are going to slip in there. So if you start taking in a large amount of people, here's some things that's going to change very quickly. Is it house rules, my rules, and everyone obeys by what I say, or you leave? Or is it I invited so many people into my house at the moment I say, hey, house rules, my rules, where everybody leaves, and you invited 70 different people in there and they say, yeah, well, we outnumber you, so why don't you leave? That'd be a really bad situation. Let's see. Let's read some more of these questions. If you had $1,000 cash to spend to prepare for the coming nonsense this fall, Mr. Congable, it is definitely nonsense. What would you do with it? What has the biggest return on investment in your opinion? Food. Food's the biggest return on all investments. Everything else, um, man, you can't eat your night vision. You can't eat your thermal. You can't eat your rifle. You can eat a bullet, but you can only do that once. You can't eat all this tactical survival crap. You can't eat the gold, though. Can these things gather resources for you? Yes, they can. Are they applicable? Are they still necessary? Are they still needed? Yes, they are. So, what can $1,000 get you? Food wise, not much. Trust me when I say me and my family go through easily $1,000 a month for a grocery bill to feed 7 people. $1,000 don't get you what it used to. And at that rate, I would be storing up probably canned food. Just to be honest with you, just me, little old poor me, I would be storing up canned food. This long-term survival food, of which Ready Made Resources has a bunch of it. It's good food. It's great. Numana's great stuff. And there's others out there. I think Peak Refuel is our favorite when it comes to taste. Um, but the problem, the problem with it is that for like $300, you can't get 30 meals. And if you can, it's for one person. One person. Now, that would end up being almost $3,000 once I need the adequate water to go with those meals for 1 month of food for me and my family. If we're going to go off of this pre-made meal stuff. it's not looking good. It's really expensive. So that's why I tell people rice, jasmine rice, because it tastes amazing. So rice, chickens. You can start having chickens. They can start providing you eggs. Um, rice, chickens, small livestock, rabbits. In Peru, they eat hamsters. They eat freaking gerbils. They eat all kinds of stuff. Guinea pigs. So I mean, you can do stuff like that if you really are desperate. But you need to be thinking small term, what can provide food for me quickly and reproduce quickly and give me protein. Protein and calories is the game that we're talking about here. You need protein to function, you need the calories to stay awake. So, and to keep your strength up. So, you know, I think about it very simple. Like I have a cup of rice per meal, an egg or two. So that's about 16 grams of protein plus good fats. And then throw in a little bit of meat. I've got broth that's made from the stuff that I've cooked. And there's a meal. All right. Men, if you're gonna be up and working all day when doomsday hits the fan, or you're going to be up all day protecting, or the women are going to be up all day with the kids doing X, Y, and Z. Everybody's going to be farming, gardening, maintaining stuff, chopping down wood. Guys, when the grid goes down, when doomsday hits, you are going to be working more than you've ever worked in your life because you're going to be working every day to stay alive. So, if you need to, invest in some good shoes, invest in some good clothes, invest in at least 2 or 3 good guns. Like for me, have a good shotgun, have a good rifle, have a good pistol. You don't have to invest in stuff like this, big plate carriers and the helmets. If you've got that money and you've got that set aside and you decide that you need it, then go for it. But make sure all your other ducks are in a row. Yeah, I need to be able to provide for myself and my family. That means we've got to eat. If you got a bunch of infants like I do, hey man, how many diapers do you got? That's a question that we need to answer ourselves. How many diapers you got? How much dog food you got? How much chicken feed you got? How am I gonna work with all this stuff when I don't have it anymore? When I hit a dry spell? Is my vehicle in good working condition? Do I have a spare tire? Do I have 2 spare tires? Murphy's Law is 1 is none and 2 is 1. So, I need to be prepared for a whole smorgasbord. People don't understand. $1,000 don't get you what it used to, but it can get you a lot of canned food. And maybe that's a good investment, canned food. All right, Tom asked, are you going to be doing training on the East Coast, like near Florida or something? Or is there not enough demand over here? I'm in Florida also. Thanks for answering. Tom, Tennessee is about as close as we get, buddy. We've had a bunch of people who've come from Florida to Tennessee, and it's eastern part of Tennessee. And it really just comes down to, do we know the people to provide the land and to provide the exclusiveness for us to be able to provide the training? We can't do our type of training at like your local gun range. Typically, we do stuff. It's in a big open field or it's on someone's property. Ready-made resources is honestly the best place because not only do we have the ready-made resources store that's right there in case we ever need anything or people want to go walk through, but we also have 2 different ranges there. I have the ability to set up a house, an area that's always in the right spot, always out of water, and we have a huge metal building for the administrative side of the class, and also to get out of the sun, get out of the rain. It's that's kind of why we like to stay right there. Maybe in the future, if God willing, the Vindicta Solutions will have a headquarters element wherever our place is, wherever God sends us to move. If it's still northern Arkansas, cool. But we plan on having a headquarters location there. So that way we have something in Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas, and possibly Colorado. Still working that out with Jamie Walden. All right, from Zach Morris, do you see believers learning to have encoded speech to identify others? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think believers are going to walk boldly, and you're going to know who we are based on the way we are. You know, you are going to know, and this is like Antichrist beast system time. We're going to know one another for various reasons. For one thing, we're going to know each other when we can't buy anything anymore. Two, we're going to know each other because most likely we're still going to look normal, and everyone else is going to look freaking weird and grotesque and just given over to darkness. That's in my mind how I see that. I could be wrong. But on the secondary note, maybe there is going to be coded speech because in China, in North Korea, in India, in certain parts of the Middle East, Christians have to do things subdued. So, one of the signs, the fish, right? You have different signs that are there for Christians, different, you know, terms and phrases for when church will be held or how to help out one another. Uh, Even smuggling in Bibles, not firearms, not food, but the Word of God. So, yeah, I could very well see that happening. Uh, be with God on that one. Every single one of us will be operating in the Holy Spirit on those days. And you know what? I almost kind of look forward to it. Nate saying up in Alaska, they're seeing Chinese military age males scoping out the gate of the base. Email me about that one, Nate. I want to know more about that. All right, Aaron asked after the balloon. I'm guessing the balloon pops. How can you grow your kids and family, not just spiritually, but scholastic in life skills as well? Well, for one thing, have a lot of books. Have a lot of books. Um, I will say another very interesting thing that you can do, and my wife and I do this. We use a homeschooling system called Abeka. Amy, if you can leave the information for Abeka in here. Abeka is a Christian academy. It's recognized even for college, and it's kind of like a go at your own pace. We have the one where we buy the DVDs, we put them in. They have a school program that they go through every day, and I mean it's pretty hands off, and my kids like it, and it's pretty easy for us parents to follow along. After that, I mean, you should be teaching your kids. You should be having historic books, books on science. If you're going to look for books on science, go to Amazon and look for stuff that's like pre-90s, pre-1990s. You may get lucky. But from there, I have a lot of historical books because history is what we're going to need to learn quite a bit of so that you can't replace it, or excuse me, so that you can't do it again. But another thing is animal husbandry books, books on um, bushcraft. I think it's another good one. Outside of that, it's those life skills is really how well do your kids work together as a team. How well do you communicate with your children as a man, as the husband, as the father, um, your family working together to solve problems? These are skills that are desperately needed in families, and you don't really see them much. Got an ad coming up. Skip ad. All right. So that's one thing I would think of, team working, team building type of exercises for my kids. I would teach my kids, if I were you, how to wrestle, how to fight, how to use a weapon, how to apply the basics of medication, how to take care of wound treatments, how to cook safely, how to start a fire safely, how to put fuel in a gas tank safely. I mean, these things as adults, we kind of just take for granted. For a child, it's a real learning curve for some. So work on the basics and get them really good at the basics and build up their little confidence as much as possible. That's what I'm currently in the process of doing and try to do it with as much grace and patience as possible. What is a shelf life of canned food? Typically 2 years. So whenever you buy the canned food, it should have an expiration date that's on the bottom of the can. And the easiest thing to do is take a piece of masking tape, write it on the outside of that can, and mark, month and year. And, if it's a little bit past the shelf life and you don't want to eat it, give it to your dogs. They eat anything anyways. Or chickens. God, chickens eat chickens. All right, Jordan asks, and Jordan, he's been to one of our training events before. Jordan asks, what things or training do you recommend to get first if you're starting out and have very little money to spend and have a family? So, one of the easiest things that you can be doing is calisthenic workouts, sprints, pull ups, body weight stuff, right? If you don't have a gym membership, you don't want to do it, you can work out at your house just fine. Kettlebells, sandbags. Um, you wanna whoop your butt, go buy some gas cans, fill them up with water, have one set of gas cans with water, and do farmer's carries. Farmer's carries is amazing because it builds good grip strength, form strength, shoulder strength, upright back, spinal erector. Uh, your glutes, your hamstrings will be working, your hips will be working, your thoracic abdominis will be working. So it's a good overall strengthening workout. I love farmer carries. It's a staple of my workout. And then from there, if that's too easy for you, fill it up with rock and make it hard. You're only going to get as good as you train. And if you train easy and light and everything's nice and fluffy, you're going to reflect that when the day comes that you need to be in action and you're calling upon that training. That's why for me, scars are completely okay. Bleeding's completely okay. Getting dizzy and throwing up's completely okay. Going to the gym for 45 minutes to flex in the mirror and to do a few cable workouts, to walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes at an easy pace and leave without even breaking a sweat is a waste of time. Like last night, I think I got back at midnight again. But the last thing that we were doing, I got up to 405 on bench. So that's not bad. It's nowhere near. I mean, that's what I was doing in like a sophomore or junior in high school. So it's nowhere near where I want to be. But the fact is I'm pushing myself every single day. Um, if you do have a gym, one of the things that I have been doing quite a bit lately is that I do overhead carries, so weight over your head, and I do a tremendous amount of overhead carries. I think I worked up to 290 pounds the other night. So military press and then walking with that weight. That's been a drastic game changer in my overall physique and health. So I really do like those. Be working your legs, man. And from there, the workout stuff, the training stuff, the physicality stuff for a man that needs to be necessary, you need to be sweating, you need to be getting dirty, you need to learn how to get a little bit mean every now and then so you can learn to have that deep down integral bulldog that's in you, that when stuff gets bad, I have been here before. I know how to grit my teeth and I know how to get through it. I know how to push through it. I've developed determination before. I understand the natures of valor, of virtue. I understand what it means to not surrender. And if all you do every day is go to work, come home, and then you're a keyboard warrior, man, I hope your work is very difficult, because for 99% of men in America, their work is not very hard. And for a lot of the young men, they choose not to have hard work. They choose to have a very leisure work. And most of that, like a young kid that I was preaching to last night, most of the time it's, well, I want a Lambo. I want money, 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 money. And I want Instagram fame and Facebook fame and YouTube fame. And, like, there's no money there. Very few people are successful in that. You need to be thinking about technical careers. What makes you an asset for a job that wants to hire you? And probably your underwater basket weaving degree is not it. Or, your minor that you have in gender studies, that's probably not going to get you hired on at some of these higher technical jobs. It's going to pay a tremendous amount of money. But hey, man, you'll be the best barista we know. So go ahead, young men in America, keep failing us. I don't get it. I don't understand. By the time I was 15, I had a job up until the point that I am now. I've had a job. So it's like the work ethic and work habits have just been lost in this latest generation. And not all of them. There's a lot of good hardworking guys out there, but man, it seems to be like a lot of these guys, they just don't know what to do with their lives. Jordan, I hope that answered a little bit of your questions. Marcus says, Doug, we've seen an escalation in unconventional warfare. Brother, have we? We definitely have. In all sorts of areas, such as transportation, food protection, plants, farms, etc. How long do you think we have until things go kinetic? Super, super good question. How long do I think we have till things go kinetic? Domestically, it can go kinetic any day. From the way I read the playing field, from 2016 to today, surprised it hadn't happened yet. Um, what keeps us from going non-kinetic? Let's talk about that. For one thing, people have bills and taxes, kids, they got their vacations, they got their retirements, they got to go to work, and the power's on. And the distraction box is always running in the corner, right? You can watch your favorite show. Here's another one of our famous distraction boxes, the phone. When the distractions go away and people have to focus on, it just got real. If I don't get off the couch and I don't participate, I lose my family, my freedom, my country. I have to now be involved. The day that happens, it goes kinetic. There could be a large terror attack right now, and 1,000,000 people could die. And the rest of the United States is going to go, oh man, isn't that just horrible? Next channel. Because we're so desensitized to violence and to evil. But that sensitivity, it becomes a real thing when it happens in front of you. And for the rest of us, I'm almost at the point where don't worry about when things go kinetic. What do we do and what do I think is going to happen? Be prepared for it to go kinetic every day. I used to tell myself this every day when I would put my uniform on and I'd go get my police cruiser. Every day I walk outside this damn door and walk into a war zone. I just haven't been shot at yet today. And so I lived in a state of hypervigilance. I didn't live in a state of paranoia. I lived in a state of hypervigilance. Like people complain about, well, why does law enforcement feel the need to, wear stuff like this? Plate carriers, a bunch of magazines all over us, an M4 rifle. Well, because the majority of us just came from a theater of war, from Afghanistan or from Iraq. Two, you guys don't understand the amount of the escalation of violence in the United States and the amount of weapons that will just that the amount of weaponry like AR-15s, AK-74s, 47s that have rounds that defeat the basic body armor of police officers is growing so rapid. It's almost common now. So we had to adapt to the times and start wearing plate carriers with hard plates, with helmets, develop better tactics that look just like military tactics, but police and military tactics are a little bit different. Come to the training and I'll show you why. But um, we're just responding to the escalation of force that's happening within the civilian populace, which builds this we versus them mentality, law enforcement versus civilian populace. There's a growing uptick and uprise in violence from criminality too. And the more people we let into our country that are foreigners, the higher the violence and crimes growing as well. And eventually, if the police don't do their job, and the politicians and justices within the judges, chambers, if they keep failing us, then vigilantism is going to come back. Then the mercenary groups here in America will probably start becoming very familiar again. Militias are going to start popping up all over again, and by that point in time, nobody trusts anybody, and everybody's armed to the teeth. That's the way it was prior. That's the way many countries look right now. And I think that's the way America is going to go. I mean, look at this. Talk about the escalation of violence. Let's not talk about America. Pop question. Where do you think the world's highest hand grenade attack is? What country? The highest hand grenade attack. I believe it's Sweden. Sweden or Switzerland. It's one of those two countries. It's a Scandinavian country. It's not Mexico, which has the highest death toll of any nation in the world. It's not Ukraine, which is an active battlefield. It's not Syria, which is an active battlefield. It's not Gaza, which is an active battlefield. It's not Africa, which within itself is an active battlefield. It's not America. It's definitely not Canada. Sorry, Canada. You guys are like tossing snowballs at each other. It's not Australia, it's not New Zealand, it's not China, it's not anywhere else in the world that you would expect hand grenades to be the biggest threat. But it's a Scandinavian country, and most of those are tied to people that come from Africa that are violent Muslim extremists. Stats don't lie. Sorry. So that's, expect that type of crap to happen here more and more in America. Let me answer a few more questions, and I got to let you guys go. Love this question and answering. Please let me know in the comments if you guys want to do more of these questions and answers. I promise I get so many emails and comments. I am going to do a gear review on the crap that I wear. But just real quick, Spiritus Systems, Faro Concepts. I'll leave some of that here in the chat group. I'll pin the comment where I buy a lot of my stuff from. Another one's Agilite. These are amazing companies. So I like that. I like their gear. So if anyone wants to check that out, please send me an email or leave it in the comment section. What's my helmet, radio, plate carrier, rifle, optics? Dude, if you got questions, put it in the comment section. I promise you, I will give you to the T where to get it and how much it costs. And yes, Nate, flamethrowers. I do have a flamethrower. It's in the garage. I'm actually going to go fire it up tomorrow. or maybe tonight. Let's see. Be careful with the 5-gallon buckets full of water, Mr. Congerable, for the farmer carry. I used to do those until the sun hit them for too long, and 5-gallon buckets just they become eggshells. So that's why I don't use them no more. That's why I like the gas cans. God, I forgot what I was going to say there for a second. Gas cans. Follow-up question from Marcus. Do you foresee a perfect storm scenario, cyber Taiwan imported and domestic enemies activated? Yes, and that's exactly what Homeland Security and what the FBI are talking about right now, along with other intelligence agencies and more friends like me who are out there who still speak to these guys. Everybody sees the same thing coming, a multi-prong attack. We've seen last year 24 different physical attacks upon the grid. They try to blame it on white supremacists. Get it out of here, man. That whole lunacy of white supremacists is the world's biggest problem. If it was that big of a problem, we wouldn't send $200 billion to white supremacists in Ukraine, which are Nazis. So the grid is the biggest threat. From there, it honestly, it's going to be the nuclear threat. Tertiary threat would be a civil unrest that just grows in complexity and grows in repetition, where you would have a regional thing, where you'd have a regional uprising, and then it just keeps spreading. It's like 2020, right? Imagine if 2020 was not people in the streets flipping cars and spray painting stuff, but it was armed people going door to door and house to house. That's what I think is potentially coming. And I think everything in the world is being done to divide Americans by race, to divide Americans by ethnicity, by religion, by voting standards, and everything is being done by the evil one and by his children to get us to hate each other. So it's either let the blacks kill the whites, let the Republicans fight the Democrats, or make up a big show like January 6th and let it be something that the globalist cabal, New World Order, satanic groups, Illuminati, the Washington D.C. Mongols, let it be something that they can capitalize on. Because what we have now is too many stupid people that will follow Trump to the grave or to the next revolution. Too many stupid people on the left who identify as cats or something else stupid like that. I mean, like, America is at a crossroads of, do we start becoming a common sense thinking adults again, or do we just believe every lie and every lunacy and it's every man for himself? I don't know. I can only worry about me. Okay, last bit of questions, and I'm out here. All right. James asks, looking for accessories for larger men and women holsters and tactical vests. I'm aware this is a super common question for you. I am newish. Um, Tactical vests wise, don't go with cheap stuff. Cheap stuff's going to feel extraordinarily uncomfortable. It's not going to sit on you well. Um, Stay away from Condor and other, airsoft like companies like that. Um, I'll, I'll leave I'll leave a section and pin it in this comment section for the type of gear that I recommend. And I don't know. I'll only tell you the stuff that I would wear. I'm not going to tell you, don't do X, Y, and Z. You're going to do what you can afford. But um, pistols wise, for me, you got two different kinds of holsters. You got a Kydex holster, like this is a Bravo concealment holster, made here in Texas. You can get it on Amazon for $30 for a Glock 19 with a TLR1 light. And then you have Safariland. All right. Safariland ALS. This is the industry standard. This is about $180 for this holster alone. And what makes it the perfect holster is the ability to lock in place and it doesn't pull out. So the thumb knob right here, the little ALS thumb knob, this is what makes this holster so great. And this is my go-to holster at all times, though this is my wife's Glock. This is our go-to holster. For everyday carry, I carry this. T-Rex Arms is another really good company. There's other few good companies out there. I'll leave it in a list of stuff that you guys may want to look at. All right. All right, guys. If you have any more questions that have not been answered, please put it in the comment section and just title, I have a question. And I will go straight to it and I will do my best to answer y'all's questions. And we're constantly looking back at all the videos. So, if you come back to it and you say, hey, I've got one more question, can you be more specific about this or that? Go back to it and re-ask another question. I promise you I will come back and I will answer them all. That's all we got, guys. The war is escalating around the world. Our politicians have not failed us with providing more wars, so you may want to prepare. The next intel report will have a bunch more information, some new House bills that's talking about they're wanting to ban body armor and they're wanting to ban semi-automatic weapons. By the way, this is supposed to be possibly one of the worst years on record for hurricanes. Hurricane season here in Texas, I believe my wife told me correctly, has already started. So be prepared, not just for the disasters, not just for your doomsday stuff. Be prepared for the natural seasonal disasters that are always occurring, your droughts, your fires, your flash flooding, and your occasional hurricane season. So make sure you have the basics that you always do. Buy a little bit more if you have the ability to. It's never a problem to have a little bit more than what you have. And just be smart and wise with your money. I do not suggest people take a mortgage out to buy all this type of crap for survival. It's why I almost never talk about it. Just be smart and wise. You know what you need to get. You know how much food you need, how much water you need, the medication you need, how much gas you need extra in case power goes down. For those of us who live here in the deep South where it gets super hot, you better start thinking if we have rolling blackouts, brownouts, it's coming to that point in time of the season. How are you going to keep cool? How are you going to stay cool? We're going to come up with a few good ideas for staying cool this summer, talking about generators and whatnot here in the next couple episodes. So after that, guys, love you very much. God bless you all. Thank you very much for all your support. Thank you very much for subscribing. Please check out our affiliates and make sure you grow closer to God than you were yesterday. Love you all. Train, prep, pray, stay frosty. See you next time.